Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast Under Your Bed. If you're wondering why the fuck we're dressed like this, it's because it is our New Year movie.
New Year's Eve, yeah.
And we're reviewing Bloody New Year from 1987. I'm your host, CJ. Across the table from me is Taylor.
Hey, guys.
And basically, if you don't know anything about this old... we can call it cult film, this bizarre old...
Somewhat.
Yeah,
somewhat. We'll give it we'll be kind and give it the cult status, sure.
It's about a group of friends that find themselves in an abandoned and possibly haunted island hotel, chased there by carnies.
Yeah, it's a doozy, guys. Before we get into the madness of this film, just in case you are new to the podcast, up at the top, we do a spoiler-free section for you. If by chance you want to watch the movie, that gives you some time. After the break, we come back with a themed cocktail. We'll go through the whole plot in case you rightfully, maybe in this case, decided to skip the movie, and then we'll do a deep dive.
That is spot on. Right you are about this being a doozy of a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, we can touch on the cast, but it's not like there's much to touch on.
No, I mean, this is a rare instance. I think we always try to give time to at least give you like a couple people for frame of reference, let you know kind of what they were up to. But in all honesty, guys, and to be fair, this is a UK production, so it's entirely possible that if you're an English person,
Maybe
you're like, oh
there.
God, I know this guy so well. But honestly, the only person that we could pinpoint in the entire movie is one of the stunt coordinators and actors who happened to be the bar owner in Shaun of the Dead, and he literally looks exactly the same. It's like a 20-year gap, and he looks exactly the same somehow.
Yeah, he really does, identical. I can't believe I didn't catch it on the first viewing. Yeah, same haircut. That's really what it is, isn't it? But I guess, as always, it's worth mentioning, directed by Norman J. Warren, written by Warren, and Hayden Pierce and Fraser Pierce. I mean, we got 3 writers on this, and I'm not sure they put more than 10 minutes into writing the film.
I don't. There's a lot of ideas. Maybe that was the issue, is we had too many cooks in the kitchen. But yeah, again, just a similar situation where a lot of these guys just did just this or went on to do a couple TV shows. The only kind of worth note person here is David Robinson, who was coordinating the effects, because unlike most people in this movie, he went on to have a pretty solid career, including effects for V for Vendetta, Captain America, Fifth Element.
Serious.
So that's pretty rad that you get somebody out of this really low budget film, though, going on to do like blockbuster stuff in their future.
Yeah, and the effects are probably where this film had the most strength. It really was not heavy in plot development, not heavy in character development, but they just kept coming at you with these bizarre, jump scares and weird, ghostly, haunting effects that just came out of nowhere and felt completely unmotivated.
For sure.
But were just too fun to, ignore.
Oh yeah, and honestly, when they're good, they're a lot of fun. But then when they're bad, it's so noticeably bad. Which, I mean, we have to say that has to be a budgetary constraint. This clearly was not a production with a lot of money. Like I said, you've got stunt coordinators doing acting roles, so it's a pretty small cast, pretty small crew. My guess is they did not have a lot to work with.
Definitely agree with that. It's like a single location film. But they really did make the most use out of that location as they could. So working within their constraints. But, outside of effects and stunts, was there anything to really walk away with here?
Oh, I can't get into it here. The plot theoretically feels like it could have been interesting, but because there's so much start and stop in terms of action that it's very jarring when something does happen. You get excited and then it's like immediately followed by like the longest sequence of nothing. So it never ever finds any kind of even pacing throughout. The plot is very bizarre. You have to have like a big exposition dump to even understand like what they were trying to go for. And as you noted, the characters don't have a lot going on, especially, we'll touch on it later, but especially Spud, my least favorite character I've seen in a movie in a while.
I will say that I sort of loved the late or like late 80s sound effects and the the score. I honestly, the whole time I was watching this film, I was like, this is what Mystery Science Theater would be reviewing and watching. Right? It was totally right out of that. Like,
oh yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I looked it up because I thought maybe they did because it really spot on, but I couldn't find it, so I was like, they must have not covered it. But 100%, because it really gives that vibe of having them sit in the front and just make fun of the shit out of it, and that'd be such a good time.
Most of my notes were just jokes, like what are they doing? What the hell is that? But I think at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun, but probably for a very like specific audience. My guess is if you just like it, honestly, if you like Mystery Science Theater, 2000, 3000
cannon fodder,
stuff like that. Like this might be a fun one to watch. If you're looking for a silly New Year's horror movie to just kind of have a good time with, this is great. There's just so many like crazy outlandish deaths and like scares that it's just fun to watch with basically any group. Like, so I suppose
totally
with that, like overall, where's your rating, and on the scare scale, where does this fall for you?
I mean, I think okay, if we're gonna start Monsters Under Your Bed, which is what we deem as scary out of 4, and I said one episode, I don't think it's fair to give anything a 0, but I look at me walking back on it already. There's nothing here, at least for me. I mean, again, fundamentally, the concept could maybe, but nothing pulls it out that it actually works or it makes you scared or anything like that. So that's going to be a solid 0 for me. How about for you?
Oh my goodness. I think a solid 0 would be more of like a kid's hokey pokey movie. So I'm gonna be a little more generous and give it a 1, but that is as
You're
the
kinder
absolute
than I am.
utmost it ever deserves. There's like a couple moments where I'm a little squeamish just because of things that I'm like, ow, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. But outside of that, overall rating, Taylor.
I mean, look, I think the effects alone, when they're good, again, because it's a mix. It's a severe mix of when they work and when they don't work. But I'll say the effects, the few people who can act, which is really like 2 people, but at least like those 2 people can act real thin, and the bar is very low here. But I always have a good time watching a low budget horror where like you can just see what that looks like on a like you can see the budget.
You can
almost
see yourself making
eyes.
This movie too.
Yeah,
hey, I could do that.
It's kind of fun. They do some fun stuff. So I'm not going to give it a 0 because it does have, I enjoyed it. I laughed out loud quite a bit watching this movie. And so simply for the enjoyment factor, I'm going to give it a 1, but it can't push it to a 2 for me. It's just not good enough. How about for you?
That is a very good question, Taylor, that you raise. Is this movie trying to be funny? Is the intent to be jumping the shark, like outlandish? Hey, I want to make a horror film and it's going to be outrageous. It doesn't have to be great. Let's just make a movie. maybe that's where they were going with it. But at the end of the day, yeah, this movie gets a 1 for me. If effects, really that might be the one place where it like kind of came out like we're trying to make a good movie. Outside of that, it's a bit dated, even further date. I mean, shit, late 80s. You better be having a better story than this. The story just didn't come to fruition.
It's very convoluted.
There's this whole like backstory that didn't have any explanation really or resolution, or at least the resolution was very unhinged and loose, but that's where I'm leaving it.
For the point that you made, I will say, just before we get into our spoiler stuff, this absolutely could be such a blast to watch in a group. I mean, I watched it solo and I was giggling the entire time. So I imagine if you had a group and one clever friend in the group who could do some running commentary, unlike Spud, whose running commentary sucked in this movie. But if you get like a quick-witted friend and you're watching it together, I bet you'd have a really fucking good time. Or coming up with a drinking game for this. I think you could have a blast.
Drinking game. Every bad scare, every time. Oh, I love
every scream from Janet. Oh my God.
Yeah, you kind of need to build your own Mystery Science Theater in your house, and you're going to have a good time with this movie. That being said, we are going to come right back into our spoiler section of this film review. So if you haven't watched the movie, go watch it and join us in a minute.
Welcome to the podcast Under Your Bed. There'll be drinks, critique, and perhaps a few murders. You're all invited, but once the podcast has begun, there's no way out. The ghosts are waiting, so won't you join me for the podcast Under Your Bed?
Happy New Year! I don't know if that worked or didn't work at all.
I love it.
I think
it is great. We're gonna start every episode off this way. I think this is too fun.
I like that. I like that a lot. A champagne pop really feels appropriate for this.
We should celebrate every episode. And I like that I get to make the drink as you, Taylor, tell us what we're drinking.
Yeah, so we went with obviously this is a New Year's episode, so we had to do a champagne-based drink. And
wait, we're doing a New Year's episode?
Yeah, well, New Year's Eve, I mean, this movie doesn't qualify. I don't know. We'll get into that discussion for sure if you even call it a New Year's Eve episode. And I feel dumb. We were talking about this before. We're like, is it a Kir Royale? Is it a Cur Royale? Do you just call it Cur Royal, Kir Royale? I don't know. Matter. It doesn't matter. All it is, this is a really simple one, guys, which is nice. So we got this recipe from a couple cooks, but honestly, you can find this anywhere. All it is, champagne, and then you can either put in Chambord, or what did you put in your CJ?
Grand Marnier. I thought that's what it's supposed to be. I don't even know how to say that. There's
a couple substitutes. So honestly, you're just kind of doing like a fruity red liqueur of some kind. Usually just like 1 part to 4 or 5 parts. For me personally, I'm not a sweet person, so there's a load more champagne in mine, which is why my drink
I do it like my mimosas, just a little splash.
Totally. So I got not so much the bloody color that you'd probably get if you followed it, but I gotta say it's a lot better this way. So
I have
really
zero color.
No, really easy, like 2-minute recipe. If you need to bust out a champagne drink for New Year's and make it look a little fancy, this will do it.
I love it. That is great. Well, so we'll dive in here with our plot review for all you that are simple-minded like me and forget what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, to be honest, is pretty confusing, and we tried our best to make it as straightforward as possible, but it still is going to come across as really weird and disjointed. So just take a big sip of your cocktail before listening to us cover this plot, question mark? Plot, question mark.
Big question mark.
Yeah.
All right, our spoiler plot summary. We open on a New Year's Eve party in 1959 where a partygoer is pulled into a mirror. We then quickly jump to summer 1987, where a group of friends consisting of couples Janet and Rick, Leslie and Tom, and singleton Spud enjoy the fun fair. The group clock a woman named Carol on a tilt-a-whirl being harassed by a 3-person greaser gang and lends her a hand, causing Dad
Gang,
Ace...
loose terms.
Very loose.
Loose terms.
Anyways, causing Dad, Ace, and the bear to follow after. Hijinks ensue, and the group eventually elects to take the water to outrun the gang. Take to the water to outrun the gang.
Yeah, that.
Unfortunately, their rowboat begins to sink Gilligan Island. After they hit some rocks, they proceed to wash up on an island. They find a deserted hotel decorated in fresh Christmas garb. Can tinsel be fresh? I don't know.
I don't know. They said fresh, and I was very confused by that. I was like, it's like a fake tree and tinsel, but sure, okay, sure, fresh.
Christmas, New Year's Eve stuff. Strange going-ons occur almost immediately with Janet, Spud, Carol, and Leslie all seeing different apparitions. They managed to get the power on and decide to take in a film. They watch a film. Spud delivers some bad running commentary, and an actor from the film literally jumps out of the screen and chokes the fuck out of Spud to death. Scratches. No, yeah, he like meow scratches him. Meow.
Then he scratches him, and then it's electric at the same time. I don't know.
I don't think it's enough to kill him. Anyways, Leslie and Tom opt to look for help at a nearby home where Leslie is immediately attacked by a fishing net! Goddamn fishing nets! And then seaweed! Tom dispatches of the seaweed creature, but is stabbed by some random off-screen. I don't know. He got hurt. I think he stubbed his toe in the table, is my personal opinion. While walking outside, Janet and Rick see a plane crash, and when examining the site, Rick sees the ghost of a pilot. A blizzard attacks Carol, and the group converges at the abandoned house where Dad arrives and is thrown to his death after he punches a hole through the now possessed Leslie. I'm not making this up, y'all. This is what happened. Rick,
this is
Janet,
like
and Carol.
the order. Yeah, this is exactly how this movie went down.
We're not being silly here. Rick,
we're not
Janet,
cutting corners either. This is actually how this movie plays out. Rick,
Janet, and Carol run back to the hotel but are accosted by the 2 remaining gang members. However, Leslie finds them and breaks the bear's neck by spinning his head around complete circles. Rick shoots Leslie, and it appears she's dead. So when Tom arrives injured, Janet decides to stay behind while Rick and Carol search for the gang's boat. It turns out Tom is also possessed, obviously, which causes Janet to flee to the lift. She manages to kill Tom and escape, but Rick and Carol arrive just in time to see her pulled into the wall. They run to the kitchen as Ace follows, but a poltergeist-style kitchen knocks Ace into a hot vat, killing him. The 2 receive the island backstory from a reanimated Leslie, who explains a plane carrying an experiment that controlled time crashed into the island, leaving everyone stuck and trapped between life and death. Spot on, right? That was spot on. They managed to get away from the hotel ghost and run towards the boat, but a vision of Janet stops Rick. We must save Janet. He heads back to help her, but is trapped in quicksand. I was so happy quicksand played a role in this. This is the only thing that was missing in the movie was quicksand. And
I know.
And a reanimated Dad chops his head off with a boat fucking motor. Let's emphasize the boat motor. Just
weed whacker style.
Carol is pulled under the boat shortly after. That was a good surprise. We then cut to the group in their original form, dancing with the hotel guests at the New Year's party, and Carol screaming for help behind glass. The end.
I mean, if that telling of the story did not clarify how unhinged this movie was, because as I was typing this up, I was like, is there any way I can explain this to make it make sense? And there was nothing. There was nothing you could do. It just, I mean, why is she attacked by a blizzard? I don't know. Why is like there a poltergeist kitchen?
Blizzard?
I don't know. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on in this movie.
You know, at times it felt like just this hodgepodge of different things. Like, honestly, it almost... Now, I would like to get some date checking here, but it felt like it was inspired at times by Amityville Horror. You know, like, I don't know when the first movie came out there.
70-something. I will check as we're talking. I'll check right now, but I swear it's 70-something.
And then alternatively, I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of gave birth to concepts like The Shining. There were actually moments in this where I was like, I could see inspiration coming from this movie for The Shining.
Yeah.
And
79 on Amityville, so that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Okay, so it may have taken some tokens from that, but my God, they just liked the idea of like these people just being screwed with on an island. Honestly, I think the biggest like confusion in this whole thing, like, all right, fine. You're on an island in a house and you're getting terrorized. I'm okay with that.
Okay, yeah.
Why does this like weird carny gang come back to like screw with them? Where they really like tracked down a boat and found them on the island and were like, let's get these sons of bitches.
Well, okay, let's like even back up before that. So what is weird with, let's just dissect the gang here for a minute and how confusing this is. So you've got like an elderly man and these two like hooligans, and they're accosting a woman who, I know it's not a tilt-a-whirl in the Welsh place that they filmed, but that's a tilt-a-whirl to me, so that's what I called it.
Yeah.
But why are they spinning this random girl around? What are you getting out of that? That's already weird.
I get like teasing someone for a little, but come on, y'all. Gotta stop.
It goes on too long. It's too
Way
long.
too long.
It's really weird. And why is this old dude endorsing it as well is the thing that I find very bizarre.
Yeah.
So that's already a weird story. And then, okay, these kids bug them. They took their switch for the ride, whatever. They're annoyed. That's fine. You get it. But after everybody gets like a head wound or thrown off of the boat they take off in, like, you think you just give up. But no, these guys leave their job. They get a boat and they follow this group to this rando island. Like, how did any of that happen and why?
They need that switch. They can't make their money unless they got the switch to the ride.
I think they got it back though. I swear they got it back.
You're
at the
right.
beginning.
They like threw it at them or something and felt the guy got it. They want their vengeance, damn it.
I guess they were really, I mean, I don't think it was worth it in the end, clearly, but also, where did they go? They were not at the New Year's party.
Oh,
at the end.
Interesting, but they were already
They're not
like
at the end.
Dead, zombie, weird, whatever reincarnations. Well, something else is like, where does this plot of the whole time capsule like experiment go? Like, it's just like, it's only there to say like, weird shit's gonna happen because of this bizarre experiment that went wrong. And there's like zero resolution to it. There's like this creeping like pilot that's lurking in the shadows. And then he finally makes his grand appearance like
and he
3/4 of the way through the movie. And he's just gone. He doesn't say anything.
He explodes. He
just
literally explodes as a mannequin. They exploded him. That was it.
Yeah, so you don't have any like solid resolution to this idea. It's not explored at all. It's just in there as some sort of inciting incident. And that's it.
No, and it's confusing because I couldn't figure out if they were, because they mentioned two different concepts. They mentioned the concept of invisibility for planes, and they also mentioned the concept of time. And I'm like, well, what is the device he's carrying? Which one is it? Like, you surely cannot have made a device that has both. And also, it's so weird because it's broadcast throughout the entire movie. If it's their TV screen, you get little hints of this, but there's like a public debate on if the ethics of using this thing. And you're like, that feels like top secret military
Right.
shit that you guys are just
Hey,
like
guys,
public
we have this
access
great tech.
talking about.
Yeah,
what?
that's so great. I hadn't considered it. And that totally explains why I was like, why the fuck are they looking up at the sky and hearing planes? Because I missed the whole invisibility part. I don't know how I missed that one. But
Because it's like one line. So, of course you missed it. I watched it like 3 times just to do the write-up. Otherwise, I would never have caught it either.
I honestly, it was at that point in the movie, I was like, okay, fine. I've accepted everything. You know, I kind of want to go back to that opening sequence of the whole, like, it feels like a Tom and Jerry, like, chase sequence.
Yeah.
And this is when I started realizing, okay, this is a bad movie. it was like all, you know, I love, the quality of film is just so great. It's shot like in that square aspect ratio. They did not play with any cinematic motivation. 90% of this movie is like wide shots. Like once or twice they went handheld and gave us some like really dynamic moving shots. But it was so limited. And you know, at the beginning it just felt like what I imagine like a high school group with like a video camera, like, hey, let's make this like funny like film about carnies chasing like our friends that are like, pissed off for some reason. And you know, it was like like following all the action, like they got a fucking boat in tow and everything. Like it just it was just hokey.
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to describe it. I don't know how you felt about the we called that the beginning, which makes sense because the actual beginning scene is like under a minute long. It was truly one of the most jarring things I have ever witnessed in a movie. To like,
Sure.
You've got this party, whatever, the girl goes to check out her hair, whatever, and she's pulled into the mirror, and it's it's so abrupt. There's no build up, there's nothing, and then you switch right to like this summer beach setting, and you're like, where am I? What is happening right now? Like, what is going on?
That's great. I actually was excited at that point because I was like, no, because I was like, okay, cool. We have this like backstory that maybe we're going to learn more about why this holiday party went awry. We have zero resolution on that. And then there was the great surprise of being yanked through the mirror. And that was the first like practical effect, the first effect of any sort. And I was like, oh, this might be pretty good movie. And then it was immediately followed by the carny chasing. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Oh, man.
It's just, it's so sloppy, and it's funny because I think you touched on some of the more interesting shots. I feel like an example I saw referenced a lot was Evil Dead, and I thought that was a great example of where that kind of filmmaking. Mostly. Oh, that too, yeah. Where that kind of filmmaking works, the tracking shots and the like very bizarre things coming to life inside this place. But that's a complete departure other than their like ideas, because Sam Raimi managed to make it an excellent movie. This is just a disaster.
Yeah, that was where the camera was working the best. Was when they went handheld, when they were following characters. You know, one of the interesting scenes is like when, I mean, here's another thing is I don't know like any of the characters' names because they were used like so like sparingly, and nobody had any like character motivation, so it's hard to keep track of who the hell is who. But when the like final couple characters are in the like pool hall and everything's kind of just going.
Carol
like,
and Rick, yeah, Carol and Rick, yeah.
And so the lights are going crazy. They're like flying around on pool tables and stuff. You know, that was when like the camera and lighting kind of came to life in sort of an exciting way. And you know, granted, it felt like, you know, maybe some like Disneyland like weird hokey pokey ride, but it sort of came to life a little bit visually there for me. And I did like a lot of the like, as you sort of said, like Poltergeist or this Amityville Horror House like house kind of coming alive and like attacking the people like in the kitchen scene, right? Those were some of the better moments of the movie.
Yeah, and I think you'll be able to touch on that more specifically, but I think what they just filmed all that they played it backwards would be my guess.
Reverse, yeah.
But it was fun. Like it was fun. It wasn't a moment where I was like, "Oh my God," where some of the effects, like I think one of the most horrifying ones to me was where Janet is getting pulled into the wall, which should be cool, but the whatever latex or whatever covering they use, it cracks immediately when somebody's hands are behind it, and it just completely murders like anything that I'm not even going to call it suspense because that's giving it way too much credit, but it kills anything it was even working toward at that point.
That is true. That might have been one of my favorite effects, like in the sense of like it was a surprise. Like you're looking at a wall, and then all of a sudden something's coming out of the wall and grabbing your body. I agree that the effects quality of it was not great. It like revealed itself as like a cheesy movie effect pretty quickly, and unfortunately I think that's where like a lot of the effects in the film, I loved that they were practical. We had all of it was practical effects, and some of them were sort of effective, but it was just like a barrage, one after the other, and they're like, what else can we throw in here? So it didn't feel very cohesive, and it didn't like lend itself to story at all. And a lot of them felt like a little cheesy. So, yeah, it just felt kind of cheesy, and they didn't land most of the time.
All right, how about on the positive effects? I will say I thoroughly enjoyed the head twist because you expect like a full head twist, but then when it went around again, I was like, no! Like, and it actually, I thought it looked pretty fucking good. That was a highlight for me, was the head twist.
Okay, I'll give it that it worked well for the late 80s. Again, it was back to those like in-camera effects where, you know, they just cut back and forth. So they like had the guy turn, you know, like 90 degrees. Then they cut to the reaction shot of the like zombie lady twisting the head, and then they cut back to his head turning some more. You know, so it was just like it was such a cheap.
I liked it. It was so cheap, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's like they could have gone a little farther. And granted, there's limitations with budget, but maybe if you know that moment was heightened by a story or some other suspense, like we could have gotten there if the lighting was more dramatic. Like maybe that would have been a more impactful moment, and that practical effect could have worked. But everything else was so lacking that the effect just did not hit. It just felt silly and funny and like...
Oh, it was like one of the only... That, and I also thought when they chopped off like Tom's arm, I thought with the elevator actually looked pretty good.
That was great.
I thought that looked pretty good. I was pretty happy with that, and I swear there was like only like one more, but one more where I was like, oh yeah, okay, like that kind of works for me. Shit, it's bad that I can't come up with it off the top of my head. That should tell you.
Absolutely, my least favorite part of this film was the like footstep effects where they filmed a couple frames, they stomped another footprint, filmed a couple frames, stomped another footprint. It was just so bad. It was so bad.
Did you not feel like you were in an 80s music video? Because I did. I was like, oh, okay.
That might be the way to describe this movie. Like 80s New Year's music video. Like, what am I watching?
Oh my God. Okay, there's just like, in a way, this is like just as unhinged of a conversation because there's no way.
I know, you can't talk about this linearly. You can't, like, there's
No, but let's talk about, because you just said how you just touched on the holiday part. So let's touch on what a bizarre thing in a way that this is Bloody New Year, and to a degree, it is a New Year's Eve thing, but then also like we've got this summer setting, and I was curious what your thoughts were on, one, do you feel like this does qualify as a holiday horror movie? And two, what the fuck was the idea, do you think, behind having the two different seasons? I don't understand.
Well, I think the idea is to sort of like lend itself to the like time you're going back to. Like it's this like juxtaposition of like you are ripped back into time, right? Like you're not on this like this pretty summer island. You're in, you know, whatever fucking
Holiday
year,
hell. Yeah.
You're in this holiday hell, and hey, it's even got like a blizzard outside that plays in here or there. So I don't completely mind the like clash of summer and like winter New Year's going on. I think they probably could have done more with it, to be honest. Like the idea of the blizzard I thought was a fun surprise, but I feel like they could have played with that more, you know, like you could have had that like shining moment where a character has to like run outside in the blizzard and like is freezing and trying to survive and get away from these like entities that are chasing them, but you know, it just didn't go anywhere. It was just like blizzard in the door, holy shit, close that, I'm running away. Okay, it's gone.
And then she was like there was like, what do you call those things? A snow globe
the like
thing.
snow globe. That I thought was a great idea, but it
didn't go anywhere.
Was that the final girl?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, rephrase. I don't know, because you see characters throughout or ghosts throughout wearing the same outfits that they're wearing. So fundamentally, it might not have been, but it also could have been. So it's like, I don't know.
So the only like interesting connection I made with that is at the end. She's the one that's like trapped behind the glass. Like, I want to get into the party, but I can't. But again, it's like, why is she left outside and can't get into this weird party? And
I just thought she had had enough of that bullshit and was like, I am not interested in joining this situation. I'd rather get the fuck out of here, but I don't think anybody's getting off that goddamn island. So that is what I'm understanding from that. But also, again, where's that greaser gang then? They were there and they died on the island, and everybody who seems to have died on the island seems to be there, but they're not there. I don't know. And also like just the reanimation thing, which again gives off such a lesser polished version of a Deadite. Like it's this weird like zombie person, but there isn't like a good rhyme or reason to like when it happens or why it happens or what the motivation is.
It's not like everybody comes back to life after being dead for 10 minutes.
Yeah, but why is oh my god, why is Leslie's face all fucked up though, and her hair is like singed? I'm like, were you a burn victim? Like what is happening? I thought you got attacked by a fishing net. I'm very confused as to why that worked out the way it worked out.
I'm so glad you say that, because I had the same question, and I was kind of wondering like maybe she had something to do with this plane crash. The plane crashes, and then nothing gets talked about it. It's like just left out there, like to die in the wind. Like that. This is
I think
irrelevant.
that's most of the storylines, if we're being honest about it. Yeah, I think honestly, it's like it has, if it was a different time, different budget, different whatever, it has the makings of being like an X-Files type episode, this island that's like trapped in time and whatever, and could be this kind of interesting thing. But again, there's just so much thrown at the wall and nothing at all seems to stick. So it just ends up being very confusing instead.
Yeah, it comes off as this like weird acid trip. I don't understand why they kept showing the pilot and then just never went anywhere with it. Like this lurking shadow, like that was probably the closest they came to like some sort of like through plot that could have like resolved in the end and like had some sort of impact or thematic quality, and they never went there. Like why not? Why?
No, I mean, they mentioned that he's probably like the cause of whatever time paradox bullshit is going on, but his actual story is just he has, and also wait, I was confused about this. Maybe I'm an idiot, but like, okay, his plane crashed, but then there's like a campsite around his crash. So did he like survive the crash and then like hung out in the woods like Yellow Jacket style? Like it was there was just nothing to indicate what happened to that guy. Did he die in the plane crash? Did he survive the plane crash? Why is he randomly showing up? Why is he disappearing? Why is his head exploding? I don't know.
That's how I interpret it. Is he crashed, somehow survived, and set up camp, and now this island was infected with whatever sort of like weird experimental like thing he brought with him.
Yeah, but why didn't he go to the hotel? Like, if I crashed on an island that was populated, I think I would go look for people. I was very confused why
that's a good point.
Set up a makeshift tent.
Well, see, this is where I thought
site?
like this story was gonna go. I was like, oh, cool. So maybe when it crashed, like all of a sudden the people on the island started having these weird phenomena happen, or they all died
I think that was
with him, and I thought we were gonna explore this deeper, and it never went there. I thought maybe that's why the guy's hiding. He brought all this bad stuff to the island, and everyone's mad at him. But then it didn't go anywhere. Nothing was.
No, they just mentioned that he is likely responsible and he crashed, and that they're all stuck. That's kind of the end all be all of that situation. That was kind of it. I feel like we should touch on characters very briefly. There's not a lot to say. I think we've mentioned it several times. There is absolutely zero character development for any single person in this movie. Is there any character that has any kind of arc even in any capacity?
No. All right, glad that conversation went well. Moving on.
Yeah,
no,
right.
I can't give you one. You know, I would say who's the like douchey character?
Which one?
Spud.
Which one?
Spud.
Oh,
Like-
geez, God, I was so glad to see him go first. I was like, I hate this guy so much.
Like, maybe you could argue there was an arc there where, I mean, he's the one that was like lonely, like he was the loner in the beginning, right? So he's like trying to find someone to become his companion, and he kind of is really coming off his creeper, and then he has this moment where he's like, hey, you fucking douche, I'm gonna save this girl from your torment, and he like
he put her in a whole new torment, in my personal opinion.
well, incidentally, that wasn't his intent. Like, he saves her.
No, just his dialogue alone was enough to be considered. Like,
right,
he was
fair.
like,
so he gets her to the island, and that was part of this, like, that never got explored either. It's like, now she's just part of the group. Like, it wasn't like, like, you're really gonna follow us to the island. It was just her motivation for like following this group and going along with them was completely unhinged. But then he finally like gets off because he can't. Spud gets off because he can't like I don't know, become a better person. Maybe like you could argue, but it's just
it's so creepy and weird because he's like, oh, let me help you. These guys have been accosting you, and then they're in the boat, and he's like, I've just been saving myself for an American girl, and I'd be like, what the fuck? If that was me, like, I'd be like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And then all the friends seem to make jokes about what a weirdo creep this guy is. I'm like, why is this guy your friend? I do not understand this dynamic that you have going on. And then proceeds to have probably, I think, the absolute worst and weirdest death somehow of the entire movie, where the guy jumps out, but we said it in the thing, but like he starts to strangle him, but then he cat scratches him in the face, and that somehow electrocutes him, and he's just dead. And like, no one reacts, though, is my favorite part. Janet goes off running crying because that's all she does.
Wait, what?
No one else, though. No one else was like, oh my God, our best friend Spud just died. Everyone just kind of went about their day after that happened.
I love it. I want to hear
Unhinged.
your favorite effect slash death and your least favorite effect slash death.
Aside from, just for me, again, that wall breaking was such a bummer because it just killed it for me. That really sucked. Her getting pulled in looked a lot better than the push out. That looked really bad with Janet. I have to say, this is going to be a really weird one. I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that Leslie got punched through the fucking stomach, and you were just sitting there going, what? Like the hand fully went out, and then all of a sudden she's this possessed person. But it was so abrupt and weird and stupid and funny that I actually kind of loved it in a way, because it was just that level of dumb that I totally couldn't even get into. I'll get to the worst in a minute, but what was your on the top tier that we haven't already talked about?
Completely agree with that. That punch was so fun because of the surprise. But my favorite also because of the surprise, and you know, it's not a particularly difficult effect, is the last girl getting pulled through the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Carol,
because it came out of nowhere. I thought for sure she had made it off the island. You know, what was the guy?
Rick.
Rick, you know, also, you know, Rick had just like sunk it in the quicksand, which was.
But also, Rick, how dumb. This whole
I know,
movie.
we all know at this point.
You know, they're not the people.
together.
And then she's like, oh, Rick, come back. And he's like, oh, Janet, okay. And then runs. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Fuck you, you're fake. I'm out. Yeah, that one was BS. But for sure, the like rip through the boat just was a complete surprise and was a very fun way to like go out in the movie. Least
How about
favorite.
worse? Yeah. Least favorite. And again, it's my best comparison I can think of is Evil Dead. But, you know, they have the awesome Evil Dead shot where you've got the deer on the wall and it's like, ah, and it's going wild. And it's so much fun in Evil Dead. This had that weird vulture attached to the stairs that you could clearly see was disconnected from the post. So it was like, it was, in a way, I enjoyed the audacity of it, but it was just so poorly executed that it was so obvious what was happening that you couldn't even have like that much fun because you're just like, oh my God, you guys, like you couldn't have found a way to hide that a little bit better. What was your like least favorite either death or effect?
Yeah. I thought that was actually a pretty fun moment. Just again, it was sort of like a surprise. I was like, oh, what the?
Until it moved,
Yeah. My least favorite was the fucking fishnet. Like, I'm trapped in the fishnet. You know, it reminds me of like, I don't know, like Monty Python or something, or like the one I'm thinking of is like Robin Hood Men in Tights, where like I'm drowning in a foot of water. You know, like this net is what's getting you. You can't get out of that.
But also, okay, so the hooks though are digging in, and Tom is just sitting there going, "Calm down." And I'm like, if I had rusty hooks getting in my skin, I would not be cool.
Work.
Like I wouldn't be cool about it. But he's like, "Oh, just calm down." And I'm like, "Girl, you try being stuck in a fishnet situation. We'll see how you do with that." What did you? Wait, what did you think?
That was probably the most squeamish I got in the whole movie.
You
know, like
the
hooks.
But yeah, it's not a great effect. You're definitely right on that. What did you think of the seaweed table monster? I don't really know what that was about.
Okay, look, I saw it coming because there's this like empty green velvet table. Like, what is this table doing other than some like bad effect that's about to happen? You know? So all of a sudden, this like table becomes animated and starts attacking, and it becomes like a seaweed monster you're suggesting. And I'm like, I just was completely blown away. Like, why is this happening? I don't understand this movie anymore. I thought maybe there was like some cohesive thing running throughout. But that's where it just officially like crossed the line for me. And I was like, all right, I've given up. It's just all anything goes.
Oh yeah, 100%. And so I think we've touched on this story, but the last kind of story-wise aspect that I want to cover is pacing-wise. I've said it at least somewhere back there, but I felt like it was all over the place because we had these crazy moments of the kitchens throwing plates everywhere and they're on the pool table and they're being carted around. And then we had so many moments of people going in and out, to the beach, back to the hotel, to the beach, back to the hotel, to the woods, back to the hotel, back to the woods, back to the hotel. Yeah, I just felt like there at no point was it like, okay, there's a clear path here. This is what we're going for. We're trying to build momentum at any point. I guess from a director standpoint, what was your kind of feeling about the pacing / story of it all?
100% agree. It's they like if I think of like the story beats, that's a stretch. It's like inciting incident. The carnies chase him to an island, and at the island, crazy shit happens, and now they're all dead. Like that's the story pacing. It's like. Yeah. This like circus montage and then holy shit! You know, there was like I thought there was a fun opportunity with putting on the like retro clothing and like perhaps becoming some of these like dead people. Like that could have been played up so much more and was never explored or like. You know, I thought maybe the people that put on the clothes might have been the first to die and animate into these old, like, dead New Year's characters and start haunting the rest, but never happened. And then there was this whole, like, other, like, maid character that was completely ancillary to the movie. Like, what purpose did she serve?
Oh, no, you could have taken her, actually, you could have taken about 99% of the ghosts out. I think the pilot might be the only one that even structurally tries to do anything. But like, there's the girl who Janet's wearing her dress. She shows up in the mirror, and there is like, it could have been, like you said, it could have been this kind of interesting thing. Like, what's her backstory? What's the situation there? Like, Janet's wearing her dress. Is she going to have the same fate? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. We don't go anywhere with it, so we don't know what that situation was. And the maid, same. There's nothing there. She delivers the blanket. Essentially, that is the entire arc of her story. She didn't need to be a character as far as I'm concerned. I don't think there's a single ghost, right, that even does anything, because most of the time you don't even see them.
No, yeah, 100%. You get these like glimpses and mirrors, which I thought was a fun effect. Again, like the practical effects were good, could have been useful, but it was just like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. They were just thrown in there so they had no effect. That was what was unfortunate, is while they were effective, they didn't pull in on any emotional chords. I actually think this is a rare example of a movie that should be remade. You know, could have a remake possibility, right?
I didn't even think about that as a talking point, but I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a super interesting idea.
You might know.
No, not that I'm aware of. And as far as I know, this is still like pretty. It's in like small circles still of people who have actually like watched it. The only reason I even came upon this is thanks to Dead Meat's Kill Count, is the only reason I even was made aware of this existence. And then every year I try to like expand my horizons and look like, what other niche horror holiday movies have I not seen yet? And so I try to do that every year. And I think people are doing a better job at curating that and coming up with like these really weird little gems in a way. And I know we've kind of shit on this movie like a lot because it deserves it, but it is fun to have weirdo niche shit like this out and about, especially for holiday times, and get to explore it. But I think you're right. This is a very rare instance, absolutely opposite to us covering Black Christmas the following week, where you can kind of only go up. And again, the concept fundamentally, the idea of having a young group of people trapped on a deserted island that is inhabited by ghosts and in some kind of time paradox is not the worst concept I've heard for a movie.
It's not a terrible idea. Yeah, like
No,
I don't
but-
even mind the like crazy carny chase to motivate them going to the island, and this like new girl in the mix to like play with character development and story backgrounds of. And there's just so much left to be explored that would have been that could have made this movie great.
Oh man, calling all filmmakers then if you're looking to
No,
do
mine,
a remake.
I'm taking it. I call it dibs.
CJ, yes. Oh my gosh. No, it really it's weird because in a way it has this potential and you can see where it has potential, but it never ever gets there. So it actually would be very cool to see somebody take this concept and run with it and flesh it out in a way, have characters you actually care about who actually have some kind of arc throughout the story, a further explanation of this plot device that they're using for this time thing, and actually a little bit more further exploration into the past I think would have been super beneficial for this movie, but we really just surface it on this.
Yeah. I don't think we need to beat this horse any further.
I think we've stretched it out as far as humanly possible with this one.
Any last thoughts to wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, like, I said it. It's not good. It's not a good movie. But if you can appreciate something that's kind of a dumpster fire, I think you're going to have a really good time watching it. Again, I found myself talking to myself saying, what the fuck what was that? What just happened? Out loud and laughing out loud. So if you have an opportunity to watch this in a group, I bet you'd have a damn good time. It just shows you should never write off any movie, even if it is kind of a dumpster fire, because you can make something of it. If you can like make the experience work around it. But again, like, it's easy, it's stupid, it's funny. Some of the effects are actually decent. Once in a while, you catch a moment of good acting. Is it a good movie? No, it is fucking not. I'm not saying it is, but I think you could have a good time. What's your last wrap-up thoughts for this situation?
I definitely agree. This is one of those movies where maybe a couple years ago I'd say, turn this fucking shit off. But I like that this podcast affords me the time and opportunity to explore bad movies, because there is a lot to learn from. There's something to be said about understanding why things don't work as well as why things do work. And there are redemptive qualities in sparing moments in this movie. So, hey, give it a watch. Don't give it a watch. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, enjoy our cocktail, and Happy New Year's to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year's Eve, guys. Happy New Year's to you. Because this was a bonus holiday episode, we'll actually be right back next week. So you get a triple feature here from us. Next week, we are covering the Ty West new. I imagine it's going to be a classic. I think it's going to maintain the test of time. I say we'll see. But we are covering X 2022, so I am stoked. That is one I highly recommend watching before we do an in-depth coverage of it. And as always, if there are any episodes or drinks or anything you want us to cover, fun facts, whatever you know, you can send us a message at podunderyourbed@gmail.com. That's also our handle for, we say Twitter sometimes, or we're mostly on Instagram. But yeah, check us out, send us a message. We are happy to add to our winter list, and hopefully X is gonna feel a little bit refreshing as I currently look out into a blizzard. I know CJ is not seeing the same view I am, but I look forward to a summer flick in the middle of winter.
Thanks, y'all. See you next time.
Bye.